If you're up for it, my training as a knight has me itching to take on some tougher enemies. I've heard stories about them lurking out in the wilds or in the depths of delves. And of course, perhaps we could net some good stories as well.
Hey guys, Centurion here. Welcome to the High Isle. I've got another build for you today, and Isobel is ready to go with a positive, if somewhat naive, attitude. We sail for Solstice in the morning. I hear the Worm Cult and their Daedric allies are back, so we're heading over there to get some nightly glory while there's still some to be had.
The Daedra fill me with... loathing isn't the right word. Fury. Their darkness threatens everyone and everything on Nirn. Stendarr gives me the strength to fight them, and I swear to do so at every turn.
Tough talk. It'll be time to back it up soon. Isobel is running on her own personal brand of Templar and raw enthusiasm, and I'm running Templar combined with Arcanist and Nightblade. We're going to Solstice for fame and glory. Failure is not an option. I saved a bundle by booking passage on a smaller ship. That leaves more gold for the bars on Solstice. Looking forward to meeting one of those Argonian maidens. Let's go ahead and look at my character's basic stats before we set sail. This character is a Nord, and there's no particular advantage or disadvantage to that. I don't even remember why I picked a Nord. If you're rolling a character from scratch, Dark Elf or Orc are best here. In the past, I'd have said Khajiit was a good choice, but their crit damage bonus doesn't work well with subclassing. And that's because subclass builds have access to a ton of critical damage, and there's a hard cap on that at 125%. I have all 64 points in stamina, and that's typical for damage dealers to have all their points in one stat. And the builds I do on this channel are DPS characters for dungeon content. That's the focus. I'm using lava foot soup and salt rice as my food, and I wind up with 30,000 points of stamina and 19,000 points of health. I'll run this as is, but I may change my food occasionally for more health. Some armor glyphs can be changed from stamina to health for a more permanent solution, and you guys can do that if you want. My stamina recovery is at 1400, which is typical. This build is set up to use tri-stat recovery potions, and that's important here. I need stamina recovery, but I need some magicka recovery as well. Other than potions, major intellect and major endurance are very difficult, if not impossible, to source. Those two buff their respective recoveries by 30%, and that's huge. No other sustained buffs can touch that. Weapon damage on the static character sheet is at 4800, and that's going to go up in combat. My crit chance is at 45%, and that goes up in combat as well. Penetration is at 6,000, and again, that's another number that goes up. You'll see what those numbers go to in a solo fight shortly. Alright, that's everything I'm going to cover from the character sheet. I don't get into crit resistance because monsters don't crit, only players can crit. And I don't talk about the base resistance stats because that's something for the tank to worry about. If you want to toughen up your damage dealer character for a particular fight or piece of content, there are various ways of doing that are all better than trying to increase your armor. Our boat sank in a storm and we don't know where we are. We're soaking wet and all I can smell is Isobel's feet, but the vibe is still positive. My knightly instincts are telling me to venture deep into the swamp and look for help. If we find something to fight, that's even better. We found some people here in the swamp. Isobel wants to charge in, but I always like to give people a chance to show me their better nature, and I have a good feeling about these people. I think they'll be more than willing to help us. Personal accountability note, I may have been wrong, and a pack of skeletons trying to kill us makes that pretty clear. Treasure, the best part of adventure.
Stendarr provides.
Stendarr didn't provide much. A little gold, some junk nobody wants, and a treasure map. Color me disappointed. I've got stacks of treasure maps at home. Maybe someday I'll have a bonfire. The taste of victory has turned bitter, but at least I know where we are now. We're in Murkmire. My armor's still soaking wet. It's become sadness with arms and legs. Fun fact, mosquitoes here are the size of a horse. In spite of all that, now that I know where we are, my confidence is renewed. We're going to make our way south and try to get a ship to Solstice, but I want to stop and look at my skills first. This is a 2-bar subclassing build, and I need some light attack weaving so I can keep generating ultimate, but that's it. Templar is my base class, and my subclass skill lines are Herald of the Tome from the Arcanist and Assassination from the Nightblade. I'll start on my back bar, which is a greatsword, and I go in the order of my rotation, which is a static or unchanging rotation. The first skill I use is the Arcanist skill Inspired Scholarship. This skill will make one of the Arcanist green crux if I don't already have one, and when I use a class skill it does extra damage. The next skill I'm going to use is Piercing Mark from the Assassination skill line. Piercing Mark is only here to provide major breach in fights where there isn't a tank, or for a tough ad that the tank can't get around to. If a tank is providing this in a fight, you can skip this skill. You can treat this as a utility slot if you like and put a skill of your choosing in there. Next I use the Templar skill, Solar Barrage. This skill does magic damage to enemies around me and increases the damage of my class abilities by 5%. And that's not just Templar class abilities, that's all class abilities. Now I use the two-handed skill Stampede. This gap closer works great for that purpose, but it's actually here to increase my weapon damage and the power of my direct damage attacks. Even if I'm right next to my enemy, I'm going to use this skill once every rotation. I've got 2 skills left on this bar. The first is Resolving Vigor from the Assault skill line. This heals me over 5 seconds and increases my armor with minor resolve. I always like to slot a self-heal, and this skill is my go-to most of the time. The last skill on this bar is the Arcanist Ultimate, the Tide King's Gaze. This miniature version of Hermaeus Mora does magic damage over time and follows its target. If that target is killed, it chooses another. You'll see me use the other morph in places in this video, but that one is really only for fights where the boss is absolutely stationary. Alright, that's it for the back bar. Let's go to the front or main bar. On my main bar, I go right for the throat with Cephaliarch's Flail. This Arcanist skill causes tentacles to damage targets in front of me, and it generates a crux. It also coats enemies with Abyssal Ink, causing them to take 5% more damage. I'll use Cephaliarch's Flail twice, so now I have 3 crux. Remember, I had one already from Inspired Scholarship. Now that I have 3 crux, I'll use my next skill, and that's Exhausting Fate Carver. Fate Carver does massive damage to enemies in front of me for 4 seconds. After the 4 seconds, I'll use Cephaliarch's Flail 2 more times, then I use Fate Carver again. And that's the whole rotation, with one exception. When my enemy is at very low health, I'll use the Templar skill, Radiant Oppression. This 4-second beam of Holy Fire is fairly expensive to use, and it's only single target, so I want to use it sparingly, but it's extremely damaging to low health targets. I'll hold off on using this until the 10 to 15% range, and then I let them have it. I have 3 more skills on this bar. I don't use 2 of them. I'd say that the 2 Fighters Guild skills are here just for the passive buff to weapon damage, but Camouflage Hunter does more than that. It gives me major savagery, and that allows me to use tri-stat recovery potions, which are important to the build. It also gives me Minor Berserk when I do critical damage from behind my enemy. Minor Berserk increases my damage by 5%. Barb Trap is here just for the buff to weapon damage, but if you don't use the mythic item I'm running, you'll need to use this skill to get the minor force buff. The last skill on this bar is the Nightblade Ultimate Soul Harvest. This is a good ultimate to use in a pinch, but I mostly like the passive buff to damage, and more importantly, the fast ultimate generation. Whenever I kill an enemy while I'm on this bar, I gain 10 ultimate thanks to Soul Harvest. Okay, that's it for the skills. Let's put it all together with a quick fight. "91,000 points of damage per second. Half of that was done by Exhausting Fate Carver. Radiant Oppression did a ton of damage in the short time it was active. I did use the higher damage morph of the Arcanist Ultimate here. I don't recommend that for most content. I run the other morph. Also, I've gotten into the habit of using a Scribe healing skill to get minor courage in these short fights. Don't use that for your self-heal. Use Resolving Vigor. Okay, let's keep going. Well, we finally made it to Solstice, just in time for the hottest days of the year. Not much to tell yet. No glory, just a lot of sweat. That's the shell-tied village over there. We're not stopping. I can't keep my money in my pocket when I see Argonian stuff. I wind up going home with a lot of regrets. We got a quest from the job broker in town, so we're going to make a little gold and maybe have a good story to tell at the tavern later, if I don't get heat stroke. Seems like a lame way to die in a fantasy world, but it happens. Trust me. I'm glad you're okay. I thought you were dead. I took a few hits there myself. I need to check my armor.
Wise to keep your gear in good repair. Very wise.
Looks like we're starting to make a name for ourselves here in Solstice. We fought good and we looked good while we were doing it. Isobel had a near-death experience, but she's okay. It's all a part of the adventuring game. We're going to go through our gear and then head back to town and collect our reward money. Maybe I can find a good healer. Looks like I could have a few cracked ribs, and I'm 50% sure I have a partially detached retina. It's all good though. My first 5-piece set I'm wearing is Deadly Strike. This set buffs channeled and damage over time attacks by 15%, and it's going to be hard to beat on this setup. As a channeled attack, the Fate Carver skill gets a huge buff from this. I've got 2 Deadly Strike daggers. My main hand is Nirnhoned and my offhand is Precise. I have a fire glyph on the main hand and a poison glyph on the offhand. The second 5-piece set I'm wearing is Order's Wrath. This is still the best crafted set in the game, and it comes from the High Isle. Order's Wrath gives me a lot of crit chance, plus a bonus to critical damage. Order's Wrath is active on both bars here. On my back bar, I've got a Maelstrom's Perfected Greatsword. If you don't have that, get the non-perfected version. Just get a Maelstrom Greatsword, period. It really amplifies direct damage, and the Fate Carver skill is direct damage. Make sure the sword is in the infused trait and has a weapon damage glyph on it. This works with a Stampede skill to greatly increase weapon damage. I've got on a Zon shoulder here for extra crit chance. Slime Crawl works fine, I just happened to have a Zon on me so I used it. The last item I have is the Velothi Mage's Amulet. That buffs damage against monsters by 15% and gives me minor force, but it takes away all my light attack damage. Since I'm using beams that last 4 seconds here, I really don't care about light attack damage. Alright, you guys could use the graphic to figure out weights and traits and jewelry and all that good stuff, and if you miss it, the info appears again at the very end of the video. Let's look at the champion points. The blue champion points on this one are Wrathful Strikes, Fighting Finesse, Master at Arms, and Biting Aura. A visit to a good healer and we're back at it. You can't keep this team down. Me and my best collab Isobel are going to keep fighting for fame and knightly glory. We didn't have to do this fight alone. We had a lot of help, and that's great because the reward money is the same. Exactly the same small amount. But hey, there are a lot of adventurers here, a lot of camaraderie and good times, and plenty of Argonian maidens to go around. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure and crush the like button. If you want to see more content like this, consider becoming a subscriber. There's the usual stuff at the end of the video. There's fashion, a fight, and a clip of the Superstar add-on showing this build at a glance. Thanks for watching. Hopefully we see you here in Solstice. Have a great day and enjoy your adventures in Tamriel.
But I'm glad we're alive and they're not.
Unleash the behemoth! What is happening?
This place belongs to the forces of Morlock Ball. Now, show them the power of Cold Harbor.
Some of my favorite tales are those of the Alliance leaders. And the companions, the adventuring group? Incredible. Especially Lyris Titanborn. She's so... impressive. Never mind. Forget I said anything.
I hate to admit this, but I got Isobel to come along by telling her I knew Lyris Titanborn. Only I don't. I almost met her once, but my group left the dungeon just as I was about to talk to her. Oh well, I'll figure something out.